Good morning, Tiki.
Good morning, Secret Beach. There, how's that? You like that?
No.
What?
It sounded all phlegmy.
Oh, these are sweaty.
Flemmy.
So, hey, everybody, good morning. It is time for the last webinar of 2017, number 4 overall in the Tiki webinars. Today, we are talking vintage mugs. As you can see over my shoulder, they are all lined up and ready for viewing pleasure. We have a live studio audience today. 2 of them are late.
Just one.
Oh,
Just
one snuck in. Hey, Jimmy. So over my shoulder is my lovely wife, Stacy, and my buddy, Jim, who I just hugged when he was shirtless. Yeah, you did. And then sitting over in the cheap seats here are Robin and Kim. And then,
Hey, wait, I just got that.
yeah, Kim's husband, Lee, is across the hall. So for my birthday and the last webinar, we have a full audience. And it's my birthday.
Your birthday.
There we go. No, Stacy does not have Princess Leia buns. She has she has pigtails because we are going to throw axes in a little bit. So, all right. So let me get one thing moved over, and then we'll get right into it because I got a lot of content to give you. So thank you all for showing up on my birthday and finishing the year. I want to thank everyone in the Secret Beach. It's been a great year. It's so great to see all your guys' success stories, and I hope that this will fuel you finding more Tiki mugs, selling more, because I know I've sent a few of you hundreds of dollars already. So keep it up, because even if I'm not buying them, someone is. So that's the whole point of teaching you. All right, refresh, treasured. Refresh, treasured. All right, so let's get into it because we got lots to do and a little time because there's an axe with my name on it getting ready to be thrown. All right, so Tiki Talk webinar number 3, vintage Tiki mugs. And so today we're going to go over Am I a Holy Grail? We did the Holy Grails 2 talks ago, so you're not going to see too many Holy Grails today. Because the one thing I want to do is bring you guys always something new. So I never want to repeat too much content, although repetition is good because you learn it. But ever since I started speaking on stage, I never wanted the same speech twice because I want to make sure that if someone's there both times, they get something new. Oops, wrong computer. All right, so we're going to break this down into 2 segments. Companies who make the mugs and the imagery of the mugs. There's about 20 different images that almost every mug falls into. So you kind of need to know those when you're listing it, when you're selling it. So we're going to talk about the images first. So here's about the 20 or so of them: animal, stalk of bamboo, coconut mug, drum, Fu Manchu, geisha, and as you can see so far, nothing even screams Tiki, especially drum and animal. Kane or man, menehune, moai, monkey, Asian, palm tree, pineapple, pirate, rum barrel, shrunken head, skull, surfer, volcano. Oh, that should be 2 things. My bad. Tiki and then volcano. There is no such thing as a Tiki volcano. And then a wahine or woman. So wahine and kane are just the Hawaiian words for man and woman. So you should know those things because a lot of people who collect Hawaiian stuff, who collect Tiki stuff, definitely are going to look for wahine over the word woman. So always go with wahine. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the companies and then show you the examples of the companies. I have a lot of live examples, so you can see the nuances. And like I said yesterday, I've learned from my last webinar, I show them way too fast. So I will hold them a little bit longer so you guys can see them. All right, so the main mug manufacturer back in the day, and we're talking, 50s, 60s, is OMC, Odaigiri Mercantile Company. This is an OMC sticker on the bottom. I'll show you some live examples in a few seconds. When you sell OMC mugs, you want to make sure if the sticker is there, you put that in your title. Us nerdy collectors would, if we had our druthers, we'd always pick a mug that has the sticker on it. So you really want to trumpet that from your title that the sticker is there. And these stickers were stuck in the 50s, 60s. That's some amazing glue because most of my OMC mugs still have their stickers, and it's 2017. So think of stuff today. Like I got Post-its that fall off after a day off my desk. And these are stickers still stuck for 50, 60 years. It's crazy. Okay, so here's an example of a wahine. So if you look in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, I will always have basically what this mug is compared to those categories I just gave you. And I happen to have this one right here, but we have talked about this a little bit in the past. Actually, this one's a smidge different, but it's along the same lines. So what they did was called cold paint. They would make the mug and then they would paint it, but someone scrubbed this too vigorously in their dishwasher or their sink, and bye-bye skirt. So now she's showing a little vajayjay. And bye-bye brown tiki bug. But this one is unique. I realize I'm getting blown out by my window here. This one is unique because it has the sticker and it says made by Odagiri on the bottom, and it says made specifically for the Hawaii Kai. The Hawaii Kai was a tiki bar in New York City, so you're usually not going to see the two because there's a sticker. I'll show you a better one in a second, and there it says made by Odagiri. So although this paint loss is here, it's still a worthwhile mug, and I'm going to talk about this a few times. A collector would rather have the paint loss than nothing, and when I find a much better one, then I'll sell this one. Thank you. And then, real quick, Debbie's in the chat. Hey, Debbie. Thanks, Debbie. Debbie's going to be compiling your questions. So especially these kind of webinars where you might not remember your question later on, just feel free to fire it out now. Debbie will copy and paste it to me, and we will get to them. And then to show you the bottom of the mug from eBay. And as you can see, it's sold for $50, so it's a decent little mug. All right, this is also from the Hawaii Kai, and is a skull mug, also sold for $50. And guess what? I happen to have one.
Surprise.
Now this one, the sticker is still there, but the gold is gone. So you're going to want to make that indication, but it's still got the sticker. Now this looks like a decent sized mug, but look at it. There ain't much to this mug. This is a very short drink. This is a tiny little drink. It looks like it's going to be impressive, but then when you look at the underneath, not so impressive. So skull mug. So as you can see, my little indicator, this is obviously a skull mug. Oops. Bring it back. I forgot to show. Now, if you see the one on eBay here on your screen, see how nice it says Hawaii Kai on the back? Mine must have been at the end of the run. The more you produce a mug, the mold wears away. So if you look here, look how nice the Hawaii Kai is on the back. Look at mine. Yeah, it's there, but barely. Yeah, it's barely there. Yeah, you can feel it, but you can't see it. So again, that's the kind of things you do want to indicate when you're listing them. Make sure that your customer is not surprised. Okay, so this is the Mai Kai mystery drink bowl. Robin and Kim had never heard of a mystery drink. I will show you pictures at a later webinar, but what happens is you order this drink, and then a gong goes off, and a sexy wahine comes out, and she does a little dance, and then she presents you with a mystery bowl. And the bowl is for you and your 4 friends, and it's pretty cool because the straws go through the tiki's mouth. And this is made by OMC also, and this one's got a pretty decent sticker. There we go. OMC Japan. Pretty decent. As you can see how much this one sold for recently, $391. This is from the Mai Kai in Fort Lauderdale. Anything from the Mai Kai, well, let me rephrase that. Anything vintage from the Mai Kai. They have produced some modern Sarah's that they just slapped their name on, and I think that is bullshit. If you're going to be one of the
bullshit.
If you're going to be one of the last standing tiki establishments and be one of the most amazing, don't have crappy mugs, please. This is and this one is a tiki, obviously. All right, I didn't have this one. So stalk of bamboo.
Which is weird that you don't have that.
I know. So it is just a stalk. And as you can see, so Kowloon is a great Chinese restaurant in Saugus, Mass. It has a giant 20-foot tiki out front. You walk underneath as you go in. If those you've been in the Boston area, probably been there. But what I wanted to point out on this listing, get your hand out of the listing. Like, really? You need to hold it?
Oh, my God. I was like, who's he yelling at now?
You need to have your hand in every picture. I mean, come on. But as you can see, it's just a stalk of bamboo, but the fact it's an old one from Kowloon. You never see this come up. It's sold for $152. On computer.
It's a fairly nice hand.
Okay, so this is we're back at the Mai Kai. This is called a drum mug, and the handle is a bird. And hey, guess what? I got one. So this is a bigger mug.
Isn't that cool?
This is a badass mug. Only a couple places did these. The Mai Kai is this one, and it says the Mai Kai with the OMC sticker on the bottom. And the Tonga Room in San Francisco. I don't think anyone else did these, but they're big. And this, as you can see, there's not much an indent. This is a long, tall cocktail. I can't even imagine the amount of booze that was in this cocktail back in the day.
Yum.
These, no matter where they're from, these are always worth a ton of money. As you can see, this one sold for $332 back in 2010. Probably worth more today.
That's as big as Stacy. I'm gonna go list it.
Okay, then there's a whole segment of Fu Manchus made by a bunch of different companies. Hey, guess what? You're right. I got one. However, we just had a new window put in, and the window guys did so good till the very end when they knocked this one off the shelf. So now it's a mosaic. There's the pieces.
Oh, that.
Yep.
Piece go off.
But this one did not have a sticker, but it says imported by Odagiri on the bottom.
Huh.
And it still has the marking from the thrift store.
Wow.
And this one was from the Hawaiian Cottage in New Jersey. And as you can see, it's worth about $20. So it's not a hugely expensive one, but it is a good, cool mug to have in the collection. Everyone has the Asian mugs in the collection, and we'll get onto that a little bit. Kanye is man, and drink bowls come in different sizes. As you can see, these two different size ones from Trader Dick's. Now, Trader Dick's is up in Reno, Tahoe area, and it's been there forever. And so these aren't usually worth a ton, but to get two different sizes together. So I want to show you that there are a variety of sizes of bowls. So little baby, like little single person drink, but here's a small version of what I just showed you. And then kind of like a medium version. And then a different medium version, and then the big dog.
Oh, there's just Robin's.
That's
right
Robin's. That's Robin's version.
And we've talked about this before in the original webinar, but that's crazing in the bottom. That's when the glaze cracks. So the mug isn't cracked, the glaze is cracked. Crazing is no big deal, but you do want to mention it, and you want to have it in your item condition field. Just mention if there's crazing. All right.
What's crazy going on in here?
Okay, so we're sticking on bowls, and this is from the Aku Aku, which was right here in Las Vegas. It was at the Stardust, and I pulled this off of Worth Point, and hey, that's my listing.
Oh, nice.
And that sold for $200 in 2014. But hey, the reason I sold it, because I got two. Woo! It is marked Aku Aku Las Vegas on the bottom, and there's the sticker. So this one's in really good shape.
Yes.
And
Nice.
as you can see, these are moais. Moais are the Easter Island tikis.
Those are my favorite.
Thank you.
Yeah, the wise.
Okay, so my mom's going to be very depressed by this. I haven't forewarned her, but her and my dad think this is one of the rarest tiki mugs of all time. And when they first found it, we couldn't find anyone who had one. So they actually have it under glass at their house, which I'm going to show you in a second. But since one just sold in August of this year for $35, my mom's going to be like, oh, I guess it's not that rare.
Aww.
But this is an example of a palm tree mug.
That's what she said.
And I wanted to point out something in this picture too. This picture is horrible. It's crooked for starters. And although I use a lei behind mine, this green and white lei with the foliage in the background just does not work for me. It's too busy. You're kind of losing what's happening in the mug there. So don't make your background too busy. So this is mom's picture. She does not have the sticker on the bottom anymore. It is gone. No biggie. Even though the sticker's not there, we still, my mom said boo. We still know it is Odagiri. And although we're not on ephemera, I had to show you this postcard. This is Bob Lee's Islander in Boston. Look at that carpet. It's like a casino carpet. There is so much in Bob Lee's that, and if you know Griff from eBay and you ever run into Griff, ask him about Bob Lee's. He used to hang out there. He's got fond memories of Bob Lee's. Wow. And then here is mom's other three palm tree mugs, just scattered around her house. The Maui Kauai one, the Mai Kai, and the Hukilau. And then guess what? I got one too. So here's my Maui Kauai, and I'm very lazy when I put my mug collections up. Here's the sticker from the antique store still inside of it, so I never get rid of it. But mine does have the OMC sticker on the bottom. What will last longer, this sticker or the antique mall sticker? Okay, so now we're up to geisha. Geisha is an Asian woman dressed a specific way. This is, again, from the Hawaiian Cottage in New Jersey. But as you can see by this title, they left out Hawaiian Cottage. The whole point when you're selling tiki mugs, if they're from a place, you want to indicate the place they're from.
Okay.
But this sold for $40. Guess what? I got one. But guess what? It's another tragedy.
Oh.
Pieces are in there. But as you can see, it came from the Geisha Room, Hawaiian Cottage, Mercantile, New Jersey. And this one has gold right on the bottom saying made by Odagiri.
So we want you to send one in the mail to you.
Yeah. But here's the sorry, Stace, that was a psych out. You reached and it was gone.
I almost dropped and broke it.
Here's the keys to collectors. Because this sits on my shelf, and I'm going to show you a picture of my collection of Asian mugs in a minute. The fact that it's broken, as a collector, I don't care because I'm still getting my visual. But the second I find a new one, goodbye, broken one. And collectors will always have one, then not, and then they keep replacing. If you find one, you keep the better and you sell the worse. So if you're not a collector, so I would not buy to sell this broken mug, but if it's got a little chip or a little crack and you can get it to a customer safely, some customer will still take the rare ones. Like if the severed head had a little crack, I would still buy it. I wouldn't pay as much, but I would still want to have it in my collection. And as you can see, that sold for $40. Okay, also from the Kowloon, they produce a lot of mugs back in the day, is this pineapple mug. And this pineapple mug was made for many, many restaurants. And guess what? I don't have that one, but I have a different one. But probably in the same area. This is from the Royal Hawaiian in Burlington, Mass. And it's really faded away. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it. Oh, there it is. Royal Hawaiian. And it's a two-part mug. So I'm going to tell you a quick little story. If you have a tiki mug collection and your mother brings her childhood friend over, you have to have the talk with her like she's a 4-year-old. Look with your eyes, not with your hands. Because one day, her name is Judy. One day I'm walking past Judy and she's on my laptop and she has Googled ceramic repair, Henderson, Nevada. And I said, hey, Judy, what you doing? And she goes, oh, you're not going to be happy. I go, well, based on how my whole house is ceramics, yeah, probably not. So she picked up a 2-part mug, not knowing it was 2 parts, and turned to look at it, and the top fell off and smashed on the ground.
Oh.
Yeah. And no, the window guy did not break that last mug. That came broken. But again, Odagiri, there's a sticker on the bottom. We want the sticker. Us collectors want the sticker. But as you can see, this is the same mug. So just keep your eyes peeled. They're made at a bunch of, I have like 3 different versions of this mug. Being the collector, because they're from 3 different places.
Of course you do.
Yes. And then here's a picture from my mom's house. She's got 3 little pineapple mugs, and I keep all my pineapple mugs together also. Okay, now we're talking coconuts. Now most coconuts, I'll do it this way. Most coconuts are half, just a half. This one's pretty special and rare, as you can see, sold this year for $274 from the Tonga Room in the Fairmont Hotel in San Francisco, California. Guess what? I got one. So this is kind of cool. Now, a couple different places did use this double coconut thing. And what you're going to want to pay attention to when you're in a thrift store, a lot of time, coconuts, and we're going to talk about this rum barrel in a second. Not all rum barrels have things on both sides. So I have found rum barrels where the blank side's facing out. So people don't pay attention to them. So coconuts and rum barrels get overlooked quite a bit at thrift stores. So this is a pretty unique mug. And the Tonga Room's a pretty special place in the Fairmont Hotel. We've been there together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's right. We all been there.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. And so typically when you're a collector, you keep your coconuts together. So mom's got her coconut collection. She's got some empty space. She needs more coconuts.
Okay. What?
I have all my coconuts on one set of shelves too. Okay. Now we're talking Asian. There's a whole set of Asian men, like, smart Chinese men. Wise men, thank you. This is from the Holiday Inn. It was in Chinatown in San Francisco. It does not exist anymore. Typically, they're not super expensive. Oh, and by the way, all these mugs so far I'm showing you, we're still in OMC. They're all Odagiri Mercantile Company. They, like I said, they produce the main mugs for majority of the bars and restaurants. But Asian has a place in all the tiki mug collections. None of them are super expensive. Most aren't. But keep your eyes peeled for them always. And guess what? I don't have this one.
Really?
And so here's my Asian mug collection. So I found that cool little Asian shelf at a garage sale for $10 and put it all together. So
Cool.
I at that moment I grabbed every Asian mug I had and filled up the display. And in that picture, you see the Fu Manchu and the geisha I just showed you, and they're both broken. But as you can see, you can't tell from the display. Okay, so shrunken head.
Oh, you don't have that.
Shrunken head looks like that. There we go. Because I don't have the mug, I'll have to show the visual on my arm.
Nice. That's the only mug I knew he did not have.
Yeah. So I don't have this one, but these are from the Maikai. And here's a tip. When you have a super rare mug, it is absolutely foolish to sell them in a pair or 3 or 4. When you have, and you're going to see some in a minute, when you have common mugs, you want to sell them in groups. Rare mugs, you don't want to sell in pairs. I would have definitely have sold each of these mugs for at least $200 by themselves, not $255 for both. Next category is animals. This is a parrot. Now, you would think, oh, Jason, is this Jimmy Buffett? A Buffett fan would buy it, but it's an actual vintage mug from Hawaiian Cottage. Here we are back in Merchantville, New Jersey. Sorry. And hey, look at that. I got one on. And so it says Hawaiian Cottage at the bottom there. And this one has a sticker, and it says made exclusively for us. So they start getting fancy. They're like, we're gonna put the extra work in. But not a hugely expensive mug. As you can see, it's sold for $25. All right, now we're up to rum barrels. And as I said, they don't always have something on both sides. This one happens to. This is the Hawaiian Village in Tampa. And it does happen to say the barrel o' rum on the back. Rum barrels are typically going to be your most potent rum drinks. And they're usually bigger barrels and they're full. And as you can see, this one sold on eBay last month for $125. And as you can see, it's tiny. Ain't real big. Especially since this is the next one up. So these are much bigger.
Is that a 2-man drink?
No, that is a Jason drink.
Jason, is it because it's rare?
Yes, because it's rare. Now this, I want to point out this awful picture. They took this on a glass table with a spare gas can in the background. Are you kidding me right now?
What?
But as you can see, it sold for $100. This is from the Aku right here it was right here in Las Vegas at the Stardust. And this is a pretty big mug. Now the problem though is it's a real thin. I know you can't feel these because you ain't here, but these older thin mugs, don't FOMO them ever. They will disintegrate for sure. Anything modern is thick. This one does not have the sticker, but we know it was made by Otagiri, so you have no problem saying that. I think this barrel's worth over $100. They did it at auction. They didn't get any higher. I would have got at least $150 for it. Then we have the Wahine. I don't have this one specifically, but I will have a different one coming up in a minute. Here we are back at the Kowloon. As you can see, these places repeat over and over and over. So back in the day, these bars and restaurants all had a ton of mugs. This sold for $152 back in 2013. Just a hula girl, but the fact it says Kowloon, it's a vintage mug, and the fact that it's still in business really helps the worth. And then, hey, if you're paying attention out there, somebody, I don't know if it was a secret beachcomber or a surfer on the thrifting board, found this mug. I was going to buy it off of you, and then I forgot who it was, and I can't find the conversation. So if you know this person, I want this mug. This is from the Aloha.
It's my birthday.
Yeah, it's my birthday. It's from the Aloha Hut, which was in Washington, D.C. And some pretty good details. You can see across the bottom, they have the Aloha Hut in a fun little font. And then Washington, D.C. on the back. Pretty cool little mug. I don't have it. I want it. If you're out there, call me. And then this one didn't have the sticker either, but we do know it was made by it. And this is I think maybe our first straight up Tiki, just a Tiki, nothing else. Okay, so we've talked about Tiki Bob in the past, and I want to go over it a little bit more with you. Let me show you some examples first. So this is Tiki Bob. It is unmistakable, easily recognized. This is from San Francisco, just sold last week or 2 weeks ago for $249. That's what there's going to be on the back sometimes. This is a different San Francisco one where it says Tiki Bob San Francisco on the side. That one sold for $239. This is from Bali High at the beach outside of New Orleans and Pontchartrain, sold for $165. That's what it says on the side. And then this was, they did a poor job because they put vintage Tiki Bob's 8-inch mug and 1 shaker, Hawaiian rare, blah, blah, blah. Could get rid of rare, but they didn't mention where it was from. And this one's a rare one because it says San Francisco and Sacramento when they expanded. So that's kind of cool, but they blew it because that's a tough one to find, and they should have got more money, especially since they sold it with 1 shaker. Oh, and they had the little coaster there from Tiki Bob's too.
Wow.
And this one's from the Hawaiian Village, which we just saw the rum barrel from. This one sold for $160, and it'll say Hawaiian Village on the back. And hey, look, I don't have one, but my mom does. Now, if you look at this one, see how nice the condition is of, it's essentially a log with a face carved in it. Look at my mom's. It's pretty overglazed, and it's a pretty shitty version of it. So there was some point where there was no quality control at OMC. Oh, crap. Okay, so that Aloha Hut one, which I don't have, but this is kind of along the same lines. So you'll see a lot of the same mugs, but this one's from the Hawaiian Inn in Daytona Beach. So they'll take the same mugs and they'll use them from different places. So, but you always got to be, like I said, the person didn't put the Sacramento on their title. You always got to let people know, because I don't need the one from Daytona Beach, but I do need the one from Washington, D.C., so I got to know what I'm looking for. All right, so just to show you the Tiki Bobs real quick, live and in person. So what happens too is also when they change the runs, the glaze changes, the size change. So here is the one from San Francisco. This is the original with the lei around the name, no sticker on the bottom. Here's an one that would be younger. And it's a little shorter and it's a lot lighter. But again, it's just from San Francisco with the lei around the back, no sticker again. And then this one from New Orleans is taller than the rest. But here's what happened. This was where it started. This bar just stole it. So there's only 2 Tiki Bobs, real Tiki Bobs, San Francisco and Sacramento. Every other Tiki Bob was just borrowed from Tiki Bobs. So this was from New Orleans.
Tiki Bob is well traveled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, here's the cool Bobs. You ready? These are called hobbyist, made at home. So here's 2 Bobs. So Ken and Bobby made one, and someone decided to give one a kind of freckled look. And I have lucked out, and I found one on eBay because somebody didn't know what they had, and I bought it for like, I don't know, $10 or $12. These hobbyists are worth at least $100. So this one's pretty cool. And here's why it's super cool. It looks just like a normal, but ooh, it's blue inside. Ain't no other Bob's blue inside. And it's from, can you see? It's from Hot Springs, Arkansas. The hotbed of Tiki, Hot Springs, Arkansas. So any Tiki Bobs, keep your eyes peeled for, because they're all money, even these crazy little hobbyist ones. And the crazier, the better, too. Okay, we've moved on to a different company finally. Fred Roberts made a few mugs.
Taking notes.
Robin's taking notes. You know you can go back and watch later.
I know, but I like to have it in
I
my
know.
bag.
These can be viewed at any
She's gonna
time.
be quiz later.
Yeah, please.
No shit.
Oh, actually, I need a mug right above you, Jim. Ali, to the right with the swizzles. To the right.
Oh.
Yep, that one right there.
Fred
I forgot to grab it. Oh, you can leave those in. Yeah, thank you. So Fred Roberts made just a few mugs, but they're fairly cool. This is called the Clasped Hands mug, and they didn't know that, so the person didn't put in their title. But here's one right here. It's actually for sale in my store. So if this one strikes your fancy, come buy it for me. And this one was actually from a restaurant in Switzerland. So whatever that says means it's a restaurant in Switzerland.
Wow.
So yes, Tiki is all worldwide. But Fred Roberts, typically you won't see that is made by Fred Roberts. Sometimes their stickers were not as good as OMC stickers. But I do have a Fred Roberts one right here. Oh, my sticker is still on. Yay, cool. I didn't realize that my sticker was still on. So they made a lot of these mugs where they kind of had design all the way around. So Tiki, some foliage. Hey, a different Tiki, some more foliage. And then there is Groot. There's the, come on, Fred. Can't get this to focus. It's like I'm out of focus. Here, hold it in front of your camera for a second. Let's see if I can get it to focus, please. There we go. Boom. Fred Roberts, made in Japan. That's the other thing I haven't mentioned yet. Back then, every Tiki mug was made in Japan. Every Tiki mug. So if you see a Tiki mug made in Japan, it is definitely vintage. They're not all worth a ton, but get them because they'll all be worth something. Oops, there we go. Okay, so HF Pottery designed a lot of stuff for, and we've talked about this, the Mauna Loa in Detroit. Some moron spent $6 million to build a Tiki Palace in the 1960s in Detroit. And where do people not vacation ever? Detroit. So it was gone in 6 months, and they had bought mugs for probably 2 years worth of sales.
Oh.
So people to this day still find cases of them in the back of like little antique stores and this and that. So oops. This is the Tiki Cauldron.
Why is there a question mark?
Because there is no category. So all those categories I gave you, there's no cauldron category. So because there's only one vintage and one modern cauldron, and that's it. But guess what? I got it.
What?
So part of the 6 million was this is a hell of a mug. It's metal, it's ceramic, and it's got 4-color glaze. This is a hell of a mug. And there's the HF pottery sticker. And so they spent too much money. Like they prepped mugs way ahead of time. Like they should have got one run and then see how they did before they spent $6 million. Because I can't imagine what 6 million is in today's dollars.
Oh.
You know?
They wanted their money back in other.
Yeah, no kidding. And then HF Pottery also made Steve's Rum Barrel. Now we have seen this in the past because this is from Steve Crane's Luau in Hollywood. But I wanted to show something. So here's mine. I know, I got one. Again, if you see this in a thrift store like this, you would not, most people walk by it until you spin it like, ooh, that's cool. But I wanted to point out something. If you study your craft online, sometimes you get a sweet deal. Now, I didn't get the sweet deal, but this one sold last week for $135. That is the going rate. This one sold last week for $17. Damn it, I missed it.
Wow.
You sure did.
Yeah. I don't know what in the world happened with this price because they sell other mugs and the rest of them are priced about right. I don't know if they screwed up, but here's a couple things I want to point out about this listing. It sure ain't new. It's about 50, 60 years old. It ain't new. And get the quotes out of your titles. Don't put any quotes in. That'll really screw it up. No dashes, no quotes. Steve's Rum Barrel. And it should say the Luau in there too, which they didn't do any research. And they only sold it for $17. Damn it.
You didn't get reproduction for that?
No. All right, Orchids of Hawaii is our next company. Now, so Otagiri was making all the mugs for the bars and restaurants specifically. And then each bar and restaurant and every tiki coffee shop and bowling alley and motel would have tiki mugs for sale. Even some of the restaurants would have more generic mugs. And so those were made by Orchids of Hawaii. All the mugs they made, for the most part, aren't super expensive at this point. But again, if you can find them in mass quantity, that's when you can get good money. And they took the time to actually etch into the bottom Orchids of Hawaii, Japan. So this mug actually is worth a pretty decent amount because here it is, sold for $45. But as you can see, mine's got some serious glaze loss. But it's a pretty cool mug, and we're back to a wahine. So there's a wahine. Wait for it. Go. Okay, so they did bowls, just like we showed you before, but because they were a cheaper company, not cheaper in a bad way, but just less expensive. This was just a one color. Like that last mug was orange. This bowl is brown. And guess what? I don't have one, but my mommy does. So here's pictures from my mommy's house of the orchids. Yes, I got my hand in the picture, but as you can see where they wrote.
There's those hands.
I know. but look how shiny this glaze is. You're seeing the reflection on the upper right picture of what's behind me, my mom's tiki room. So that's a really shiny mug.
Good thing you had your shorts on.
Here's some cool bowls, which I thought I had one. I couldn't find it. Maybe someone stole it. They're just straight up tikis, but again, here they sold 4 of them for $70. So they're not worth a whole ton by themselves. So when you find orchids, it's still good to find them and buy them, but just keep in mind they're not worth a ton. I don't have one, but mom did. So here's mom's bowl. So it's 3 tiki faces, and I did a top shot and a bottom shot for you. And this one was a little bit more modern. They stopped writing, etching in the glaze, and they're just now stamping it Orchids of Hawaii, Japan. These rum barrels by themselves are worth about $5, $6, but when you can find 6 in its original box, then you can get $115 for it. So that's where mass quantities come in handy. And here we have 5 coconuts sold for $81. By themselves, the coconuts are worth $5. So people will pay more for mass quantities. Then we got the 6 tikis below that, $80. 6 wahinis below that for $80, and then 4 skulls for $75. Can you bring me back that orange one real? Oh, no, never mind. Sorry. Yep. Okay, so I have that third one down, the wahine, and what Orchids did to make it easy for you resellers, they didn't know they were doing this for resellers. They wrote the code for each mug in the bottom. So this is the R79. So when a collector is looking for it, so they could not make it any easier. The name of the company and the style number. Easy peasy. So now this is a more modern one, because they used a sticker. But they still had the R number, but somebody it got peeled off at some point or didn't get written. But this is one of the lightest mugs I own. We just weighed this sucker. This one weighs 5 ounces. It's tiny. It's a tiny little mug. Okay, PMP, Paul Marshall Products. You want both in your title. Paul Marshall Products and PMP. We will search by both of them. When I say we, I mean Tiki Collectors. Again, not super expensive mugs, but when you have a set of 5, you get $40 for them. And guess what? I got one. All right, so there's the PMP in the bottom. So these are what Stacy cannot hold. See the look she's giving me?
It bothers you, huh?
Yeah.
It's like styrofoam
Yeah.
for me.
So when she has to hold these, she has to hold them like this. So drinking does not happen out of them. And then Paul Marshall Products also did a nice bamboo stock for a set of 4, just sold 2 weeks ago for $45. And then Daga. Daga made, so Hawaii is becoming a state. The territory then becomes a state. And boom, tourism explodes. And so restaurants and bars and everything is all over the place. So Daga was in Hawaii making mugs, mainly stalks of bamboo, for every single restaurant and bar in Hawaii. Like if you needed a mug, Daga made it. No one else made it for you. And so they're not super collectible for the most part because usually it's restaurants that lasted a couple of years, 3 years, and they're gone. So no one, unless your last name is Smith, really gives a shit about Smitty's. And there ain't no other art, just a bamboo stock, Smitty's. But of course, I wanted it because it said Smitty's. This was a more modern one, so they stamped it on the bottom. But they also were the go-to company for weird things. So here you go. Oh, hey, go grab my weird thing. Go downstairs. The rum girl behind your desk. I think on the backside is the snow boot. If it's not there, don't worry about it. But I think it's sitting on the backside of that. So here, they made a cowboy boot, and that's all, you know, because when you think Tiki, you think cowboy boots. So this sold for $50, and it sold for $50 because it's a rare thing. It isn't a Tiki. And then Mom and I have both had and both sold this mug. This was RJL makes model airplanes. They wanted a mug out of the engine of their model airplane. So again, when you think Tiki, you think model airplanes.
Yeah, right.
Now this mug used to sell for a lot more. I think Mom and I each got 100 out of ours or close to it. It's down to $35. Bam! I forgot about
I
that.
didn't even know that was back there.
Yeah, and I happen to have an even crazier one. Here's a ski boot made by Daga. So, and this was an older one because they were still writing it in the bottom. So keep your eyes peeled because here we are now. You guys would never look at this and go, hey, that's a Tiki mug. By definition, it is. I mean, truly it isn't because there ain't no ski boot category, but people would pay for these, especially if you ever been to the Cask at Mammoth Lakes and you're a skier, you would love this. Now, I've always said nudity and Tiki go hand in hand. So here's a set from Del Morocco, but no one really cares about that place. But hey, the girls are topless on the mug. So 2 stalks of bamboo get you $23.50. And it's white. I do have a white example right here. This is from the Club Jetty. Again, no one would really care.
We just care about the women.
Yes, exactly. Jim just cares about the women.
And they're topless.
But again, if someone vacationed there, if someone honeymooned there, then they'll be like, oh, I would buy that. You're just not going to get rich off them. But you'll see them all the time, so I wanted you to know. And they do make regular Tiki mugs, too. Hey, look at that. I got one. So this is just, the one that sold here on eBay was straight up plain, sold for $19. Mine came from Paradise Cove. It is a, I don't know if it's still there, but it is a luau in Hawaii. But it's a pretty decent moai. But funny enough, moais aren't Hawaiian, and they're making moais in Hawaii for Hawaiian businesses. So kind of weird.
They got women.
Okay, so we talked about Francoma. You know the war god. I showed it on the last one. It is the holy grail of holy grails in the Tiki mugs. Quick go over. Francoma is a pottery company still in business. Some of you might collect their pottery. They were 16 miles from a little motel called the Trade Winds, which had a Tiki bar restaurant called the Trade Winds in it. And so they said to Francoma, can you make us some mugs? And they did. And that was the only time Francoma made Tiki mugs. So they're highly sought after. So here is a light brown version that sold in August of 2015 for $1,034.99.
Man.
Got 5 of them.
Here is a light blue one that sold in
Yeah,
2006 for
nice.
$7.25. I think the light blue would probably be upwards of $1,000 right now. This is the two-tone glaze. This one sold in 2012 for $500. And then this just sold. I had never seen these. Didn't know they made them. Francoma made salt and pepper shakers for the trade winds. $1,007 for a set of salt and pepper shakers. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the exact reason I'm teaching all this, because someone found these at a thrift store and put $1,000 in their pocket. You know they only spent $1 on them. You know it. And as my mom found, she only spent a nickel.
Yeah.
Okay, Latour Hawaii made exactly 2 tiki mugs. Guess what? I have one of them. Hey, Tooch. They made coconuts, and they made these bowls. So here's a volcano bowl in a like a black and red glaze, pretty cool, $81. Just sold a year ago. I would at least price it at $100. I wouldn't go any lower than $100. It's pretty hard to find these. I don't actually have one of these, so if you find one, get it to me. But I do have these coconut mugs. I want to show you this because this only sold for $11, and that's about what it's worth. So just know that not every vintage mug is worth money. So it's just a plain coconut mug, but it does say Latour Hawaii. There we go. But again, if you had 5 or 6, you'd be all right. You'd make some money. Okay, so Vernon Kilns makes a lot of pottery. Are they still in business?
I don't think so.
They make a lot of pottery, but kind of like Francoma, they only made 1 tiki mug ever. They made it for Trader Vic. And this one sold in 2014 for $237.50. So if you see Vernon Kilns on the bottom of anything with a tiki on it, get it, because they also made a pretty bitchin' plate. And this plate sold for $281. So this would have been a plate at the Honolulu Trader Vic's. So you won't find a ton of these, but I want to make sure you guys were aware of everything, because some of you might know that manufacturer and be like, oh, I know that.
They closed in 1958.
Well, they closed in 1958. So yeah, they're definitely not in business anymore. All right, Napco Ware makes some fairly generic mugs, but they're still cool because they put a lot of detail into them. So this cool little handled mug sold for $20. But these two sold pretty well. And this seller used the ever sexy white towel as their backdrop. But as you can see, they put a lot of detail in these mugs. I mean, look at the headdress on this one. That's a lot of sculpting. And that's, you know, for back then, the sculpts weren't all that intricate. This one's pretty amazing. So these both sold for about $100 a piece. And I think this sexy white towel is what sold them. Okay, so we talked about this before. Every person, unless you're a tiki person, thinks the mark on the bottom of this pottery is a B with a long tail. Nope, it is 2 P's for Polynesian pottery. Now, when I was my handy dandy assistants, let's put them on the screen for a second. Here's my handy dandy assistants. Let's move this out of the way for a sec.
Your sparkles.
They helped me carry all these upstairs today, and they were like, "Did someone do this in art class?"
With a toothpick.
Because
What's your name?
this is the it's called Tonga. It's a tiki mug from Trader Vic's. As you can see, it don't look like much. But guess what? I got one. Yeah, it's a very simplistic mug. Now, this is when Trader Vic, if you remember from the webinar, Trader Vic and Don headed off to Hawaii. Now, Vic pulled out of his deal, but it was too late, and so the guys that were with him kept his name. So they went to Polynesian Pottery and had the mugs made. And so they would then, in the bottom of every one of them, write Hawaii and then the double P. They're not fancy, but I actually like Polynesian Pottery. They're one of my favorite manufacturers. So the Tonga sold for $65. And then Mom and Dad and I, my little sister, went to the Tahitian Lanai. It was a tiki restaurant that had little grass huts you would eat dinner under. And they made their own mugs. Now, this one's a little tricky to picture for your eBay listing because it goes around the whole mug. So it says Tahitian Lanai. And then what I wanted to show you is this one's kind of a dark, messy green. This one's kind of a jade green. And here we are, being a collector, you got to have them all. And there's the, and instead of doing Hawaii, they did the Waikiki this time. And then here's the light green. So as a collector, though, I will tell you, when I set these on the shelves, I set them so you can read Tahitian Lanai. So the first mug is turned, so you can see the beginning of Tahitian, then the bottom of Tahitian into Lanai, then Lanai. So it actually reads straight across. So that's nerd collector level 10 right there. Right? Yeah, even Stacy's shaking her head. These used to sell for a lot more, but someone sold a lot of two of them for $55. I would think you can get 40 of them, and I would sell these one at a time. These are pretty sweet. They're like shot glasses on stilts, and they say Tahitian lanai around them. They're made by Polynesian pottery. These are actually, they're just palm trees, but a set sold for $100. I do not have these. Please find me one. I've always wanted those, and here we are back to palm trees. And then there isn't really a mermaid category, though. There's a whole bunch. So yes,
That's
there
right.
should be. So mermaid falls into woman. This is Fisherman's Wharf in Honolulu. Again, just looks like it's done from art class, but these are things that most of us collectors like and collect. All right. We're going to go over Steve Crane a little bit more. We've talked about all the Holy Grails. You saw them all in the last 2 webinars, so we're not going to talk about those. This just sold not too long ago. This is the double-walled coconut. They missed a few words, but $200 is a good price for them. What I wanted to show you is, if you remember from the webinar, Steve Crane was kicking ass at the Luau in Beverly Hills. So Sheraton came to him and said, hey, we want your tiki bars in all of our Sheraton. So they opened what's called Kon-Tiki Port. So there's one in Cleveland, there's one in Montreal, Chicago, Boston, and a few others. And so usually the Kon-Tiki Port stuff isn't as valued as the Luau, but this just sold for $60. I was actually a little surprised by it. So cool. Price went up. Hey, guess what? I have one.
Dude,
So-
he looks like Chewbacca.
Yeah, kind of like a Chewbacca tiki. So on the back it says Kon-Tiki Ports, and to save money, this one says Chicago and Boston. That way they don't got to produce one for each. And it says designed by S. Crane on the bottom. Now, Steve also, and even though this is not the webinar for salt and pepper shakers, I want to show you, Steve did salt and pepper shakers for both Kon-Tiki Ports and the Luau. They sell for about $20 a pair. They're super duper common. I think my mom has like 27 pair on her windowsill in the kitchen. But I wanted to show you that they're essentially the same salt and pepper shaker. But this one says the Luau, and this one says Ports of Call, Kon-Tiki Ports of Call. So keep them. Now, if you would find a set of both, say they're worth $20 a piece, to sell a set of both the Luau and the Kon-Tiki Ports, I'd probably put that at like $60, and you're shooting for about 50. Because anytime you can, put a check mark off a collection where you get both sets at the same time, people will pay more. Okay, TEPCO. Unfortunately, this one, the marking's not there, but that's the mug. TEPCO made a few tiki mugs, and this is one of them. It's a little tiny pirate. So now we're into pirates. And I jumped ahead. Whoops, I got the wrong mug. I was very impressed. Robin knew exactly who this was the second I pulled it up for her. Because when you think of tiki and Polynesia, you think of Genghis Khan. Of course you do. So here is a Genghis Khan tiki mug. The full color version sold for $135. I don't have that one, but I have the much rarer all white version. So that's a pretty badass mug. Again though, there ain't much to this drink. It's all mug and no container. So pretty cool mug. There is no markings. The markings have worn away. But if you find these, you would know that TEPCO made them. And then here is the pirate head. 4 of them sold for $80. And that's about the going rate, about $20. They're not super rare, but they are nice. And then, this is where it definitely leaves tiki, because if you have a fan of pirates, and pirates and tiki do not always go together. In my house they do, but they don't always go together. But, there'll be fans of pirates. So you can sell this to not just tiki people. You can sell it to fans of pirates and Pirates of the Caribbean people and stuff like that. Okay, so TEPCO, I don't have this. Find me one, please. TEPCO made this black, all black 3 tiki bowl for Trader Vic. I ain't never even seen one in person. So very cool. This sold for $305 back in 2012. I would imagine in today's market is going to be getting about $400. Okay, Westwood. Westwood are not expensive, but I happen to like them. They have this kind of weird look to them. And there is no devil category, but guess what? I got one. And my bar is called the Den of Sin. So anytime I find anything devil, even though it isn't tiki, all devil, cool old devil stuff goes in there. So Westwood made a whole bunch of mugs, and this one says Westwood, no mask, handcrafted in Japan. They really went all out right in the bottom of this one. But he sold, as you can see, in blue with a chip for $30. And then these are Westwood mugs, and I have a couple examples here. They're very hard angled, as you can see. Ooh, is that dusty? It sure is. Excuse me. I forgot to dust that one. Very hard angles. And it says Westwood. Not expensive, but as you can see, if you get a little set of them, this set of 4 sold for $50. This is sought after, though. This is the spice rack. I have one downstairs. Mom has one, but mine's kind of screwed into the wall. And I hemmed and hawed if I was going to dismantle my wall, and I decided not to. So, but if you find it with the rack, because oftentimes you don't find the wood rack, you find it with the rack. This sold for $49 in 2011. I saw a recent one sell upwards of $75 and $100. And then they made tiny little versions too. So you can have your big drink, or you can have your tiny little drink.
That's almost funny.
Can I just have a little tiny Mai Tai? Thank you. And so there's a whole variety. Westwood made a whole ton of mugs. Again, not expensive. This set of 8 sold for $50. But a lot of times you will find multiples in the same location. So I would definitely still pick them up. I just wouldn't waste your time listing one little tiny one at a time, because that's not going to be worth your money. Now, I just happened to see this when I was pulling mugs. It's really not a mug, but it was made by Westwood. They made other stuff. It's a piggy bank. Yep. It's missing the stopper, though, but it's made by Westwood. The banks sell for about $40 or $50. And again, they came in a variety of colors. So hopefully with this webinar, you're starting to see things where you're like, oh, I've seen that before. I didn't know I should be picking that up. So Toby designs I like. They were a little weird. They weren't all that, they're not all that expensive or sought after. But this three sets sold for $45. Toby is very much well known for these wide mouths. These are just Tikis, obviously. This one's a stupid listing. It was 2 Tobys, a green and a brown. But in that first picture, you would, even though it says 2, what? And then here we are back to the sexy white towel. Why not have both in your first picture? I just don't understand that. But hey, guess what? I got one. Pretty cool design, and it's tough to read. It is way over. You ain't never seen nothing. It says Toby Designs and a few other things on the bottom here, but it's way over glazed. It's hard to tell. If I'm standing, Toby Designs made in something. So you might never see it. You might never see it. And they made little tiny shots too. I've never seen the little shots, and this pair sold for $27.50 way back in 2006. So if you see those tiny little shots, I'd like one, please. Thank you. All right, Terra Ceramics. Oh yeah, Terra Ceramics made like 2 mugs. So the father of modern day surfing is Duke Kahanamaku, and he had his own place in Waikiki Beach, and he made this kick-ass coconut mug, sold for $75 recently. Hey, guess what? Oops. It's really crude. Like, this is not good condition at all. And there's the Terra Ceramics on the bottom. But this is one of those things that every tiki collector wants. I mean, look, the line where it was in the mold, it's just horrible. It's a crappy mug. But wow, quality does not equal worth. So it's a good thing to remind you guys. Quality does not equal worth. Never does, especially in this. Because a lot of the crappiest things I have are really crummy. I mean, a lot of the best things I have are crummy quality. Now, they did make this, which I don't have, and I really want this one, so go find me one, please. This is from the Coconut Palms, and it's 4 Ku Tikis on, one on each side. This is a badass mug. I'm actually shocked it doesn't sell for more. I've never seen one in person. I've never even seen one in a friend's collection. So this is a kick-ass mug, and I would not price it any less than $200. But of course, I want one. I'm sorry. It's worth about $30. So if you find me one, I am willing to give you $37.50. All cash. And they also made mugs for, I'm sorry, I said they only made 2 mugs. They made a couple mugs for hotels, and this would be a petroglyph version of Kane or man. So that sold for $30. Kind of cool. All right, Louis B. Ceramics. They made this mug for the Royal Lahaina Resort, and they're not all that expensive. As you can see, it sold for $20. Yes, I got one. There's a Royal Lahaina Resort, but there's a little mark on the bottom, Louis B. Ceramics. So they just did a quick stamp. Obviously, they didn't really care all that much because it's kind of a mess. But they did make a seahorse, And it's fun when you're doing research on WorthPoint and you come across something you need for your webinar. You're like, oh, that's my listing. So funny enough, they made this seahorse, and being a collector, I like to have all versions of this seahorse. We went to find this today. I don't have one. I sold the one I have. I'm an idiot. Because I have other ones that look blue, but they're from different manufacturers. So nerd level collecting, I need to have every version from every manufacturer. All right, Desert Ceramics made two things. They made one plain ass coconut mug that sells for about $20 and a Down the Beach comber. And Robin, who's Down the Beach comber?
He's one of the tiki gods. I mean, the persons. The big guy out of the three. Steve, Trader Vic, and yeah. It's dude.
He invented the tiki bar.
That's what I said. I was like, he's like a tiki god.
Yeah, well, sure. So I don't have the specific this mug, but I do have the regular mug, and it just says Desert Ceramic USA in the bottom. And as you can see, there ain't nothing to it. It's very boring. But the Down the Beach comber sells for $90. Matter of fact,
Oh no, what?
I was thinking that was my listing, but I don't have one, so it looks like my pictures. But if you find the Down the Beach comber, it's worth $100. All right. Now is the point where make sure if you haven't gone to the bathroom today, I would go real quick because you might poop your pants.
Oh dear.
So here's a mystery bowl from the Kahiki in Columbus, Ohio. $1,147.69.
Pretty.
I do not have one of these, and if you find me one, I'll have to give you lots of money.
Oh no, call Robin first.
But here's what I want to point out. This title is horrible. The first word should not be fine. The second word should not be rare. There should not be a comma. There should not be two commas. There should not be two commas and an exclamation point. It should not be all caps.
It's still sold.
The Holy Grail of Tiki mugs. It ain't a mug. It's a bowl. Like, as you can see, though, sold for a lot of money because when people find these, they really want them. But write good titles, please. And then there's the markings on the bottom. Kahiki Hoffman Pottery. So Hoffman Pottery is making the stuff for the Kahiki in Columbus. Now that bowl, that bowl was big. That's like, 3 or 4 of your friends. It's a little single bowl. This one sold for $500 by itself. Wow. With the 2 little tikis as a footprint. 3 tikis as a footprint. So again, and as you can see, these don't look all that fancy compared to some stuff I showed you, but this is the stuff that is super duper hard to find. People really want it. Now here is their moai. And yes, we're back to, hey, I got one. Of course, of all the expensive ones, I got the least expensive. But here's the moai. Pretty nice moai, different than the norm. And then on the bottom, they would write in Kahiki and then stamp on it, Ceramics by Huffman, HF Pottery. So there you go. Now, a girl I know just sold 2 Kahiki coconut mugs I've never even seen. This one right here, which is pretty cool, sold for $130. And this one, kind of like a bowling ball. It's got the 3 little things in. Sold for $125. It would have said Kahiki on the bottom of this one. And if you pay any attention to this webinar, I would say at least a third of all titles are written in all caps. I don't know why people are fascinated with all caps. It drives me effing bonkers. So I don't do that. And then this is the little, you would get your hot buttered rum in this. So it's like a little squatty tiki. Again, I don't know if I would sell 3 of these together because unless you're going to be making hot buttered rum and serving them at your home bar, I wouldn't need more than one of these. One's fine. So I would definitely pump it up, do one at a time and pump up the price. Now, my girl Candace, who might be in the chat, I've not been paying attention because I've been busy, obviously, and she's actually coming over to my house for New Year's Eve. She found Coco Joe's usually makes resin made out of lava tikis, just little statues. They made one and only one tiki mug, so rare, until Candace found 2 of them in Vegas at one of my stores for $2.99 each. I didn't even know they existed. So these are worth a lot of money, and I happen to have a Tiki Bob that they want, so we might be doing a little tradesies on New Year's Eve. But this is a badass mug, and here's why it's badass, ladies and gentlemen. It's badass for a couple of reasons. Made by Coco Joe's, who did not make mugs, but if you look on the left side, you see how there's a little lip inside the mug? It's a little reservoir for 151 rum. You put the cocktail in the mug, you put your straw in, you put a little 151, you light it on fire. So while you're drinking your drink, there is a flame shooting up out of your drink. So that's kick ass. And that mug, is huge. I ain't got anything big enough to even compare it to it here. Yeah, that mug is huge.
Your head.
Well, when she sent me that picture, because there's nothing for scale, I thought it was this size. In actuality, it's like this size. It's huge. It's a
Like this?
yeah. Give me that. That's a good example. Good job. Yeah. So I thought the mug was this size. It was more this size. Yeah, it's a badass mug. So Candace, I'm gonna give you a tiki bob and fill you up with a lot of rum. So
Pre-met Coco Joe.
yeah. Okay, and then we're going to do two more things, and then we're going to go to your questions, and then we're going to go to breakfast. So there's a lot of unmarked mugs. It's hard to teach you unmarked mugs because it's hard. But this is made by Sperlin Ceramics, and as you can see, this bowl sold for $835 just this month. And so it's just the look. If you showed me this, I would say, yep, that's Sperlin. But as you can see on the bottom, there ain't nothing. So it's hard. But if you find any tiki thing, I would hope by now you would just pick it up, and we would figure it out later. Here's a weird, figural man head, sold for $80, no markings on the bottom. And the Cobra's Fang, as you can see, sold for $209, no markings. Now, Oceanic Arts, which is a store I shop at in Whittier, California, they did a tribute mug a few years ago. So there it is. As you can see, way more detail in this one than in the original. Kind of plainish. All right. These aren't marked on the bottom, but they're easy to spot. They're the only 5 political mugs you'll ever see. There was a tiki bar in Washington, D.C. in the 90s called Tiki, and it didn't last too long. So they made 5 mugs. They made Ronnie Reagan, which sold for $315.
Oh, that's cool.
They made FDR, which sold for $300. This is one of our members, actually. She found a couple, sold for $300. This good old honest Abe Lincoln. Again, you don't need quotes and 3 exclamation points, all right? Sold for $250. Jimmy Carter sold for $117, but this is way back in 2007. These are all worth about $300 nowadays. And last but not least, Tricky Dick Nixon. This was our member again. Sold for $350 in September. So, and if you have to find the whole set, I got a buddy, Johnny, who went there, has the whole set. I said, shit, if you sold that whole set together, that's probably $3,000.
Wow.
Because no one ever finds them together. So you could hold out. This is a cool mug, and this is the only representation of monkey I have for you. It's a vintage mug from a place called Pearl City Tavern in Hawaii, but again, no markings on the bottom. And typically, you guys would not see this crazy little monkey with his tail as the handle and think, oh, tiki mug, but it is. And then last but not least, I think Kelbo's was an amazing tiki place in L.A. Yeah, Kim just got. wait, hang on, let's get that. What was your feeling? Oh, Kelbo's. Kelbo's had no markings on the bottom. Of course, it says Kelbo's, but there's no manufacturer's marking. This coconut just sold for $425, and all it says is Kelbo's on the side, and as you can see, no markings on the bottom. So it gets a little tricky to teach you. And then, this is the last one here. This is the Hawaiian Room from New York City. $120 just sold in October. As you can see on the bottom, there's nothing. And guess what?
You got it.
No,
Oh.
I got 2 bitches. Okay, so here's the one I had, and here's how it should look. And it says the Hawaiian Room on the back, and no manufacturer on the bottom. My buddy just picked me up one in Cleveland, and someone decided to do a little arts and crafts. So now it has red nipples, a little bit of red lipstick, and bloodshot eyes.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that, but
Okay.
little arts and crafts project. But as you can see, too, it's a little bit 2 different variations of this mug. I just realized. See,
One of your left hand looks bigger.
well, white and no white. So, and yeah, this one's a little bit bigger. So this was a whole different run. So I was going to sell one of these. I didn't realize they were different. Yay!
Oh, yay. Yeah.
They stay.
It's like,
oh,
I should have
yeah.
pointed that out that they were different.
And this is from the Waikiki, which was in Washington, D.C. This one sold for $244. Again, no manufacturer, no marking, but it did say the Waikiki in the back. All right, here's the last part before we show you one more thing. This is the poop your pants part. Menahunis are mythical little creatures in Hawaii that build things and do things, sometimes good, sometimes bad, while Hawaiians are sleeping. This is one of the rarest bowls I've ever seen. This is a nude Menehune woman being chased by other Menehunis. And ladies and gentlemen, this is where we're going to play a little guess what this sold for in the chat. Now, the audience at home here in the studio, they know. I've already showed them. Well, let's play a little guessing game. You've seen a lot of things sell for $100, $200, $300. What do you think this sold for? I'll get you. Keep going. So Debbie fires it out there with
No, just
3,000.
Debbie.
Cheryl's
Cheryl.
5,000. Maggie's 2,500. 276. No, you're way low. 1999. All right.
Higher.
I think Maggie was closest, or Diana is. You ready, ladies and gentlemen? Oh,
Yeah.
666. Debbie said 666.
Of course you did.
Boom. $2,137.69. And here's what's cool. There's a whole seat out here. And by the way, your computer did not go blurry. If you're selling a $2,000 bowl, take clear pictures. Unbelievable. But it's a whole scene of Menahunis basically chasing the woman Menahuni. And here's another woman hiding and another woman diving down in a hole. But here's what's super cool. Painted for Trader Vic by Kay. Was this like a Color Me Mine in 1950? I mean, is that what places are called?
Uh-huh.
All right, last but not least, we're going to show you 3-face bucket mugs, because this is where being a collector, you got to understand. If those of you watching are not collectors, you won't understand. Here's my 3 bucket mug collection. I have to have all these because guess what? They're all slightly different. So here's where they came from. I won't read you the list, but I wanted to show it to you so you can go back and look at it. Where that says generic fat, that means it's generic, not marked from a certain place, and it's a fat, and there's a skinny version too. Same with number 1, Tonga Room is skinny as opposed to the fat version. And here's the second half. So, and that's where you see number 14 is generic skinny. So study those, check those out, and let me show you. So here's the skinny Tonga Room version, sold for $50 recently. And what I mean by skinny is, here it is. Here's a generic regular. As you can see, it's bigger. So they're like, oh, we'll still sell these mugs and only have to make half a cocktail. And we save money or make more money. So the Tonga Room sold for $50. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm going down my list. So all the ones I have, here's what they sold for. The Lanai from San Mateo sold for $30. The Lanai Luau from Fresno sold for $40. The Islander from Stockton, California sold for $13. The Islander was a popular place in Stockton, tons of mugs, so they're not going to usually sell for a lot of money. Here's just 2 generics, like this one right here, sold for $25 for the generics. Here's one from the Islander in Stockton, sold for $14. Now here is my rare one, which I was shocked by. Here it is, 4C Seattle. So see, look, every mug's the same. It's got 3 different tikis on it. You know, the glaze may be different, but it's the same tikis. I looked, I Googled, I worth pointed, I eBayed, I Terra-peaked. I can't find anyone selling this mug ever. So this is the priceless one. Whereas this one's worth $10, this one might be worth $200.
You put that one under glass.
Yeah, it's essentially the same mug, but you know, from a rare place. All right, my Polynesia one just sold for $125, so that's a pretty good one. This is from a place in Cleveland, actually, called Chung's. Only sold for $11. Wah, wah, wah. The Outrigger, Mark Thomas Outrigger in Monterey, sold for $14. The Islands in Phoenix sold for $21. Harvey's Lake Tahoe, they've sold probably 7.2 million of these. So as you can see, $5. Again, if you can find a bunch, you can sell them as a lot. This is from the CPO Club, $25. This is a modern version of it from the Mai Tai Lounge, which no longer exists in Lahaina and Maui, sold for $55. I have one for sale, so if you need one, come buy it from me. Here's just 2 generic skinnier ones, $25. Malios, no one gives a crap, $9. Castaways from Colorado Springs, or Mantua Springs, Manitou, $30. And then Huma Huma Nuka Nuka Apua'a in Maui, no one's bid on $13.50. But a couple quick bonus bucket mugs. This was from the Trade Winds in Oxnard, California, $71. So as you can see, the rarer they are, the more they sell for. If you have a lot of them, you can get, you know, decent money. No one cares about the Karate Punch, but when my mom found 9 of them, she sold 9 of them for $80. That was my mom's listing from 2013. And here's what's super cool. I've never seen these before. So you know, as you've seen, there's 3 faces. This is one of the faces. Well, at some point, they made the full face mug. So cool. So rare. Again, I would not have sold these as a pair because they're rare. Until I did the research for this webinar, I didn't even know this existed. That's how rare it is. So guess what? I don't have one. Find me one. All right. That's the webinar. We're going to breakfast. I'm just kidding. I'll get your questions. Just kidding. Psych. So I hope that gives you guys more of a working knowledge of things you're looking for, because a lot of things, I am sure today, every one of you saw things you're like, oh man, I saw those. I didn't know they were Tiki. So keep your eyes open. So great question from Brenda Brand. Jason, do you put your mugs on at auction? I used to in the old days. I won't anymore. I know my prices now. If I found that hand-painted Trader Vic's bowl, I would have to find two, because of course I would keep one. But if I did find two, that's a good auction one, because as you can see, I don't know if I would have guessed it was going to go for $2,000, but when you let people duke it out, when it's that rare. So if you do find something you think is rare, just shoot me a picture. I will always guide you if you should do auction or buy it now. Debbie says, now we know why Jason does these webinars for us. He's teaching us to scout for him. Duh.
You just realizing that now?
You just realize that now? I've been teaching everyone for Tiki for like 9 years now, because I built a better mousetrap. I have 36,000 friends who look for me, and I've lost Tiki friends because they're pissed. That's not fair. That's not fair that I have these two,
And if you find it yourself.
Yep, and these three who are now looking for me. Well, Robin will keep for herself, but
Hell to the yes.
oh, and then Deborah says the Hawaiian room was our listing. Very cool. I grabbed a listing from one of the members. So I wanted to say thank you to Robin and Kim for my balloons. Can I get it all the way up there?
Oh,
There we go. And then Stacy brought me some balloons that are downstairs.
Oh,
You can
those
see
are badass.
pictures of later. And so that, that is the fourth overall Tiki webinar in our series. The first one was the, kind of generic for everybody, which you should watch. Then we're breaking down each category into an hour. So today was vintage mugs. Not next, but down the way we'll do modern mugs, because disco killed many things in the 70s. Tiki was one of them. It was gone. 80s, it was gone. And then the end of the 90s, it started again. So there was no Tiki mugs being made for about 20-some years. So there is a definite line. There is a before Christ and after Christ. There is a definite line. Before disco, after disco. There's a definite line. So you got to know, because of course, when you sell them, you need to know, the manufacturer, what the mug's called. Almost every mug has a name. Some are tricky to figure out, and I could usually find them because besides the online resources, I also have at my fingertips, mainly for when you guys are like, what's this, Jay? I have all the books at my fingertips. So you might own the books too, but I'm pretty good at getting right to the page. Like I can kind of see, I see a mug, go, oh yeah, it's like about the page 80 in that book. So I can find it quicker for you than you could. So yeah, so that's it. Any other questions before we dance out of here and go throw axes and have breakfast? That's next. And then 2 concerts tonight. So it's going to be a fun night. So those of you tuned in live, I want to thank you for joining me on my birthday for this webinar. I hope you learned a lot. I hope some of you maybe got the bug to get into Tiki, like this young lady has. Even Kim, I've been dragging Kim to some Tiki bars. She's like, I kind of like this Tiki thing. So, sometimes it gets in your blood, but even if it doesn't, that's cool. But, I'm giving you the tools to feed my addiction, and B, make some money, because I'll always tell you what it's worth and get you the right title. And that's kind of what I've always done. And anyone who's watching or here, if you list a Tiki thing, always shoot me the listing, and I'll clean up your title for you a little bit. I don't want to see rare. I don't want to see commas. I don't want to see exclamation points.
And no hands.
And
No
get
hands.
your damn hands out of there. So.
And no white towel.
No white towel.
So I want to thank everybody for joining me, not just today, but in the Secret Beach. We have had a little over 1 full year now. It's beyond what I even expected, and so awesome to have all you guys here. It is fun to watch your successes. It's fun to watch you guys learn things. And it's fun for me when we have the guest webinars. Like, I haven't shared this yet, and I will. It'll be the Thrifty Encounter this week, or this coming week on Thrifty Business, but I'll give you guys a preview. Summer, who did our Pyrex webinar, when Stacey and I were home in Cleveland, Stacey goes, hey, I just found all this Pyrex. Come here. So I walk over, and Summer was actually at my house helping me out with something I'll talk about later. She was driving, and I called her. I go, are you on the freeway? She's like, no. I'm like, pull over. Pyrex emergency. And so I just stood in the section and I went through the whole section, and she helped me pull out the Pyrex, and that's what I do for anyone with tikis too. So it's so cool to not only be teaching you guys things, but to learn things also. So it's been a whole lot of fun. And if anyone watching right now is going to be on the boat, here's your preview. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. I've never done this before in any of my teachings. I'm giving a test. I ain't never given a test before. I'm giving a test, and it's on Tiki. You have 4 webinars to rewatch before we get on the boat, and there's going to be good prizes. Good prizes. Booze, Tiki stuff, all kinds of good prizes. So I'm not going to make crazy, nutty, hard questions like, what was the 17th mug I showed on webinar 2? But I'm going to be asking questions about who invented the Tiki bar and things like that. They won't all be super easy, but it'll be fun. It'll be a different way to learn than I've ever done. And guess what? A lot of you are going to win shit. So, hey, study up. I will put a post out this week, but I would recommend rewatching the 4 Tiki webinars, because that's where I'm going to pull all the questions from. It's going to be a lot of fun on the boat. If you're not joining us on this cruise, there will be a second and third and a fourth. But make sure that if you didn't join us this year, you make it to the next Secret Beach event. And with that, we are out of here. Happy New Year, everybody. Have a wonderful New Year. Stay safe. If you're in the Vegas area, stop on by. We're having cocktails from 4 o'clock on till wee hours of the morning. Come on by, and we might do a polar bear plunge into the pool.
Hell no.
And it'll be sans bathing suits, so no bathing suits needed. So
Shirtless polar bear.
yeah.
That's it.
So that's it. We're out of here. Thank you all. Happy New Year. Thank you for spending the day with me. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.